Hello everybody, Corey here. We're going to go over the trades that have happened so far this week and the most recent holdings. Just a reminder, I am not a qualified licensed investment or financial advisor. I just gather the data and present it to you. YieldMax ETFs are extremely risky, so please make sure you know what you're investing in before doing so. I'm going to be honest with you. I am going to try to get through this video as quickly as I can because I am tired and I still have to get up early in the morning. And I just worked like, I don't even know, a 14 or something hour day. Yeah, I know I did pretty decent last week with the videos, but that was because we were doing new things and I was trying to get the videos out this week though, and at least through middle of next week. I'm still in the middle of year end. I know I never did the video telling what's been going on with me, but extremely busy at work right now. Doctor appointment this morning. Didn't get good sleep yesterday, so I didn't get up in time to do the video. So I wanted to get this one out, even though I just worked 14 hours, because I may not get another one out this week. So just a few reminders here, just in case there is somebody that hasn't been here long. We're going to have these in alphabetical order by the YieldMax ETF with the long ETFs first. Then we will have the short ETFs, and then we'll have YBIT. Short call is our normally weekly calls that we have. Then we might have some bulk calls on some of these. And then we have possible upside over here. You will only see this on those short calls. I usually read those, and it's a habit, so I'll probably still do it on a few of these, but I'm probably not going to do that. Just to try to make this video as quick as possible because there are like 30 ETFs here and lots of trades. I don't know, 100 or so because it's from the past 3 days. So 106 lines. And again, and also I won't read through every single line of these trades either. The data is here. There's lots of data on these spreadsheets. You can, fast forward to find the one you want. You can pause the video if you want to look at stuff more in depth. But I will be trying to get through this as fast as I can. Sorry. Oh, I guess it's because I copied and pasted these. I don't know how that got unhidden. I'm just trying to see if I can make this a little bit better for y'all for the trades here. All right, and so the last 3 days are here, so you can see 23, 24, 25. If they had trades, they will be here. Wow, it's a lot of trades on Babu. All right, anyway, we're going to start at the top. Again, I won't read everything I normally do. So we have Abney, so we're starting off here. The first 4 lines, we have... it looks like somebody must have sold out of these. They've closed out 100 contracts of the synthetic short call and the bulk calls there. So that's that first 4 lines. And then you can see the prices that they closed out of those. So if we look over here at Abney here, we have our short call with the 131 strike price. We are only underneath that 29 cents. And then we have the bulk call here with the 135 strike price. We're underneath that 3%. Moving on, AIYY, we didn't have any trades this week yet. However, our short call was 23.50. We are over that short call by 3%. We're at 24.16, so we're over that 66 cents. But we are underneath the bulk call 24.50 straight price by 1% or 34 cents there. Moving on to AMDY, we had some trades. Hold on, let me fix that freeze pane. There we go. AMDY. So they closed out the short call with 157.50 strike price. That was today. It looks like we did close out at the day at 162. So we were over that strike price. What about $4.50 there? So they paid out $4.67 a share. And then we had the bought call here at the 165 strike price. We were underneath that, but they were able to get 87 cents a share for that. So that was able to offset some of the 1.7 million, receiving 317,000 for that bought call. Now, if we go here, we can see they've pushed this out to next week, but our new short call strike price would be 167.50, and our new bought call is 175. So still the same spread between those of $7.50. So the total, well, that'll still get us the total amount of those trades cost $911,000. Go over here and look. We have AMDY, so it looks like they just closed out half of the shares then, or half of the contracts. I noticed they've started doing that lately. So they closed out half, went ahead and paid that price to move half of them out. And then I guess they're going to wait and see what happens the rest of the week, or at least tomorrow before closing the rest of these out. Meaning the ones that will expire this week. So anyway, let's look at these. We have the 157.50 strike price, which we know are over 3%, which is roughly $4.50 there. Yeah, 4.5. And then we have the one for next week, the 167.50 strike price. We're underneath that 3%. So let's move on to AMZ. Let's see if we had trades. We do not. Aptly is our next trade. So if we look at the AMZ holdings here, you can see we have the short call of 192.50. We are over that strike price by 3 cents as of the close today. Of course, yesterday we were almost at 194, so we came down quite a bit there. But we do have a bought call of 197.50, and we're underneath that 3%. So let's look at the Aptly trades real quick. Closed out 105 contracts at the 235 strike price. Now this was yesterday, and they pushed those out to next week with the 232.50 strike price. I'm guessing those are some they just had a strike price that had standalone, so they just decided to go ahead and move that. Let's look. Yeah, I guess they had those left out there, so they went ahead and pushed those to next week. So now Aptly has a short calls for next week that expire next week, 232.50 and 235 strike price there. And then they do have a bought call with a 240 strike. So they have a $5 spread there between those. But we're underneath the two short call strike prices, 3 and 4%. Looks like Apple went down exactly $1 today, while Aptly went down 1 cent. All right, Babu, let's see what happened over here, because there are a lot of trades, and they're not in order. That's awesome. Okay, so our first 4 lines. I think I'm getting in the hysterical state now of tiredness. Today, well, technically it's the 26th now for me, so that's going to be confusing looking at my calendar. So the 23rd, I think, was Monday. Let me double check. Yes, so Monday, they added 1,105 contracts across the board there. And then the next 4 lines after that, you can see where they closed out of the synthetic with the $85 strike price and moved that to a $95 strike price. Same expiration, just bumping up the strike price $10 there. And then we're going to have the next 2 lines, which is a short call and a bought call that was going to expire this week with 545 contracts. They closed those out on Tuesday and used those contracts and pushed it out till next week for the short call. So they went from an $89 strike price to a $100 strike price. And then they did not do a bought call this time. And then for the other one, they had a 92 strike price for the short call, and they pushed it to next week to a $102 strike price. The last time I saw BABA today, I think it was somewhere around 98, but we'll see in a minute. So it looks like they've totally revamped all of that. So let's see where we're at now. Oh wow, we're down to 95 today. All right, well, they've already pushed these out. So we have our short calls for next week with 100 and 102 strike price. We're underneath those 5 and 6%. So I think what ended up happening here is the Chinese, I don't remember exactly what was said, but they were going to do something to stimulate the economy. And all the Chinese stocks, including Clip and K-Web and CQQQ and Fix. What's that other one? FIX. I feel like there's supposed to be another letter in there. Anyway, oh, and PDD. So all of those went blasting, and then they've come down a little bit since that happened. So, and of course now these are already closed out, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, sorry. We'll move on. Did I not copy and paste those? Oh, I didn't, because when I did this, Babu hadn't even loaded, so we're lucky. That was the last one I was holding out, and I decided to do the video anyway because I couldn't wait on it. But anyway, we have Coney here. It looks like those first 3 lines are Coney. They just added 580 contracts there where people have bought in. So if we go over here, we can see Coney. We have 4 short calls that will expire this week. The 172.50 strike price, we're underneath at 3%. So don't ask me why, and I'm adding more commentary to this. I'm sorry, I know I was going to go through this quick, but as Bitcoin has gone up the last few days, for some reason, Coinbase really isn't participating much, if any, and it hasn't made any sense to me. MicroStrategy did that for like a day or two also, but it's now blasting again. But I don't know what's going on with Coinbase, to be honest. But anyway, Bitcoin did get up above 64,000 at one point today, but then it ended up going way back down. So, all right, anyway, that 172.50 strike price, that is where the majority of the contracts are. So just keep that in mind. But we do have the 177.50, which were under 6%, the 180 under 7%, and the 182.50 were under 8%. And then we do have 2 bulk calls here with a 185 and a 195 strike price. We're underneath those 10 and 14%. All right, Dizzo. Lots of trades going on here. So the first 2 lines is where they had a short call for this week with a $97 strike price. They closed those out for 7 cents a share. Moved that to next week, and now we have a $96 strike price. Though I will say Disney has come up a few dollars in this past week. So it was, last time I remember really looking at it, it was like 89. So it's come up a few dollars. But they did go down, and they received 45 cents for those. And then the next 3 lines, the 2 synthetics and short call, some people have sold out, so they've closed 225 contracts. And then the next line after that, we have a short call with a $96 strike price. It was going to expire this week. They closed that, moved that to next week with a $95 strike price. And for this one, they did a bought call. So they bought a call at $97 strike price. So just a $2 spread between those 2 there. So lots of trades. Let's just see. Sorry. Make sure I went all the way down. So in the end, they actually brought in $175,000 out of all of those trades. All right, and so Disney did go up just a little bit today, and Dizzo stayed exactly the same. But, so these have already been pushed out to next week. So we have two short calls at $95 and $96 strike prices. We're only underneath those 1% and 2% though. But then we do have one bought call for half of those shares, and we're underneath that 3%. Moving on to Phoebe. And we don't have any trades for this one. However, I know today they had their huge presentation and their stock was a soaring. So let's see. Ooh, like right there at it. They ended up closing $5 up $5. I know they were at least at, I think they were at 576 at one point. I think that's as high as it got and some change before it dropped. Yeah, I don't even know, was that in after hours or not? I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, they closed at 568.31. We're at a 570 strike price, so we're only underneath that, about $1.69. We do have a bought call, 585 strike price. We're underneath that 3%. GDXY. So I did not move fiat down, so I have to remember to come back up. So JPMO are the next trades. So we have no trades here for GDXY. We do have the short call for this week at the 41.50 strike price. We're underneath that 19 cents and no bought call for GDXY. Then we have GUI here with no trades. So a short call of 165 strike price. We're underneath that 2%. We're about $3.50. And then we do have bought calls here. A 167.50 strike price and a 170 strike price. We're underneath those 4% and 5%. And then we have JPMO. So we have a few trades here. They closed out the short call that's going to expire this week with a 215 strike price. They only closed them out for about 10 cents. And now we have a short call for next week with a 212.50 strike price. And then we did get $1.28 for those. Sorry, I was just looking here. We're about a 1% away from that today. But then they did also do a bought call with this. It's like a $5 spread there, so the strike price is $217.50. Didn't pay too much for that either, only 29 cents a share. All right, so JPMO, let's look at over here. All right, so we're half and half right now. Hold on. Boop. Okay, so this doesn't show that they closed out the bought call for this week. So I don't know if they're just going to leave it on, hold out. And I'm going to guess because they were only going to get 1 cent, but unless it actually starts soaring, because I mean, that's a bought call at $222.50. I mean, we're $12 and 31 cents away from that. That's JPM usually doesn't move that much in a week. So anyway, either they left it because they weren't going to get much money at the time, or it was forgotten about, one or the other. But anyway, that one's there still. But we have our short calls here. So the 212.50 for this week, we have half our shares there. We're underneath that 1%, which is $2.31. And then we have a short call for next week, same strike price, so same distance, just different expiration date there. And then we have the bought calls there. For this week, the 217.50 and 222.50, but we're underneath those 3% and 6%. Then the bought call for next week is also the 217.50, so underneath that 3%. All right, moving on to Murney. So let's look, we have some trades here. So on Tuesday, they added 145 contracts to everything, so people bought in. And then same thing today, adding 300 contracts to everything there. Of course, it looks like we have a new one of these will be a new short call for next week, but all because people have been buying in the last couple of days because Moderna has been sinking. Like, it's been bad, which is crazy. I don't understand. They were just like double this not too long ago. And then I don't know what it was that made them really tank mRNA. If it was like earnings or what it was. But just glance in here real quick. Oh, yeah. See, and I say see like you can see my phone screen, but May 24th, they were up at 170. $170.47. Moderna was in May, and now they're at 63. So they're almost a third, or a little over a third of that. July 31st, they were at 122. So they were half. So, yeah, this one went downhill real fast. We were up to $9, about $9.25 the other day. For Murney, anyway, I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure I had sold some of my shares. But I shouldn't even. I sold my shares when this sucker went to the top because I was like, I know I've been watching the stock. It's just gonna fall back down, and it did. And I started buying back in, and it just kept falling. And now I'm just pissed. But anyway, okay. I know you don't care. So let's see what we have because we didn't have any trades, right? So see, I was talking. We did. We had people adding in and buying in. That's right. All right, so we have a short call for this week that expires. We have a $67 strike price. We're underneath that 5%. That is where almost all of our contracts are. We do have the 300 that we had just showed for next week with a $69 strike price. So we're underneath those 5 and 8%. We do have a bought call for a little over for the majority of the shares for this that expires this week. It's a $70 strike price, but we are underneath that 9%. Now this could, shoot to the moon, but it would have to have some really good good news or good something to come out on it. So anyway, let's look next. Yeah, MSFO. Let's see what we have. All right, so the first line here, they closed out. Actually, it's the first and the third line, closing out a $445 strike price. And then now they split that up for next week. So we have a $435 and a $440 strike price for those. And then I'm looking down here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what they did. Okay, so this would go with that, and this goes with this. Sorry, I don't really, like I've told you before, I don't look at these really too much. I don't look at them in any kind of detail. I just glance over them for errors and stuff. And I go over them in depth with y'all. So like I said, so let's just move this. It'll make this easier to view. Hold on. Easier to understand. Okay, so the first two lines there you can see same strike price, $445, and they moved those out to next week, but they've moved them to a $440 and a $435 strike price, and so those equal 890 contracts together. So now they have this bulk call here with the $440, which is crazy. Well, it's not crazy. I just think it's odd because that is a strike price of $440, and we have a bought call at the $440. And then this next 445 here is 430 a 435 strike price for the short call and a 440 bought call. Yeah, if we just move this up, I know it's just all kinds of ways there. So they must not have had bought calls last week, either they did or they didn't worth much. So they closed those, they opened those. It's actually, unless I don't understand, if they only closed out 890 contracts. So something doesn't seem right here. So let's look at our holdings. Because I feel like we have 445 too many. All right. And I forgot to save the holdings for yesterday. I guess that's the other thing too, now that I look at this. The days that the trades were done. So these last two here were done today. So these, they closed out yesterday, they rolled them here, and then bought a call. Then today, it shows that they opened another 445 short call and then did a bought call for today's and half of yesterday's to make it all equal up. But what doesn't make sense to me is it doesn't show them closing out a 445 to open up another 445. They only closed out 2, and then they opened 3. And yeah, actually over here they only have, no, they have 2 890s. All right. So I didn't save yesterday's, but I do have the day before's. So I can at least try to see. So they had a 440 and a 445. So then they closed out the 445 for this week and then ended up with a 440 and 435 for next week. So after this, they would have still had the 440 for this week, and then they would have had a 440 and 435 for next week. And see, that's not here. Because this was the holdings. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I hate this going back and forth. So right now we have what for this week? We still have the 440. Okay. And then the 445, they closed, which is right. But this is they opened a 440 and a 435. So there should be a 440 and a 435. And the 435 is here, but the 440 for the short call isn't. So I don't know if this is an instance where, I don't know, they updated the trade file after the fact, and I'm not seeing, I don't know, whatever changes that they made. Because it's like this one, it doesn't exist. And this one doesn't exist. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I don't know, but those trades don't equal what's on here. So anyway, according to the holdings, and the custodian will only put on here what the trade said, which is why I say whatever trades were uploaded to the website, they could have been changed after that and wouldn't have reflected, what we could see on the internet versus what was sent to the custodian. So anyway, they have on here that the short call for this week that expires, they still have 890 contracts with a 440 strike price. And then they have a short call for next week with a 435 strike price for the other half. So we're underneath those strike prices 1% and 2%. And then we also have a vault call for next week with a 440 strike price. All right, and then we have Misty. Did we have any Misty trades? We did not. All right, so Misty, we still have the 3 short calls with 143, 150, and 155 strike price. The majority of basically the contracts are really split up between the 150 and the 155. There's only a couple of hundred at the 143. Of course, we're above the 150, 1%, or a couple of dollars, and then we have the 155, and we're underneath that 2%, or $3. And then we do have a bulk call for about half of the contracts, which were under 5%. Now, MicroStrategy, I think it was this morning, it was up to 157 at one point. I think that was today. If it wasn't today, it was yesterday. And then, of course, Bitcoin was falling off throughout the day and this evening. Of course, right now it's at 63.3, which is about where it was hovering a lot today. Wow, the index futures is way up. 0.9 and 0.48% for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, which I will say, like, after, I know, nobody cares, but after Micron, I think it was Micron that, is it MU? Micron? I don't know. After one of them reported this evening, everything started soaring. NVIDIA, a bunch of them. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but things just started soaring after they started earning, which made me wonder if tomorrow would be a green day, so maybe it will be. So anyway, sorry, we're done with Misty. Nephilim here. Oh my goodness, so many trades. So let's break this down. The first 4 lines is where people have closed out. So they had to close out of 25 contracts. So that, again, first 4 lines. Then the next 4 lines are synthetics. They closed out the $6.95 strike price, expiring in October, and now that has been moved out to November and it expires in November now with a strike price of $7.25. And then we start here. Okay, so then they closed out the, as you can see, today, that these are all from today here. We closed out 721.56 at the end of the day. So they closed out the short call here, the 705 strike price. At least at the end of the day, we were over that by 16.56. Of course, they had to pay almost $19 to close that short call out. And then we have the bought call here, though, with the same number of contracts. They actually received almost $11 to close those out. And then, so then we have a short call for next week. So we went from a 705 to a 745. So we went up $40. And then the next three lines are closing out. Actually, it's the same short call and bought call strike prices. It's just the other half of them. So basically what they did was move 310 contracts to the 745 strike price and then 400 contracts to the 750 strike price for next week. Of course, they ended up, paying and receiving more for the second set that they had closed out, because of the time of day that they ended up closing these out and where the stocks were at. So let's just look at all of these Netflix trades for the week. Hold on, I don't even know where we ended here. I need to go down one more. All right, so out of all of those trades, and we were over the strike price, like $15, $16. But we did have bought calls, and they had to close out some of the synthetics to help pay for this. And they had to close out some where people were selling out. But after all of that, they ended up bringing in $1.65 million. So if we come over here, we look at our trades. We're set up for next week now. We have two short calls, the 745 and the 750 strike prices, and we're underneath those 3 and 4%. And no bought calls just yet anyway. Then we have NVIDIA. Ooh, we only have 3 here. They closed out the 120 strike price. Let's see. The short call strike price was 120. We closed today at 123.51, so we were above that $3.51, but they paid $3.82 to close those 44,000 contracts out. So that costs $16.74 million. But then for the bought calls, they had a 123 strike price. And they actually received $1.91 for closing those out. That was only for 39,000 contracts here. So the net of those two is around $9 million. But then we put on a short call here for next week with the 130 strike price with no bought call. Sorry, I'm not getting through this as quickly as I had hoped. Then we have NVIDIA here. The holdings, we have the short call for this week. So they only moved half of the contracts to next week, and we have the other half still on this week. So we have the 121 strike price, which we're over 2% or $2.51, and we still have a bought call here that equal those contracts with the 124 strike price. So we're just 49 cents below the bought call. And then, of course, the short call for next week with the 130 strike price. And we're underneath that one 5%. So moving on to OARC here. Looks like we have people selling out. They've sold 400 contracts for the synthetics and short calls. So if we move on to the holdings here, you see we have the short call for this week with a $48 strike price. We're underneath that 2% or $1.14 there, and no bought call. All right. So then we have PayPal holdings here with no trades. So a short call with the $80 strike price. We are underneath that 3% currently with no bought calls. Then we have SMCY with no trades. Short call with a 470 strike price. We're underneath that 3% with no bought calls. Then we have Snowy. So Snow here, those first three lines is where they just opened up 65 contracts where people have bought in. So if we look at the trades or look at the holdings here real quick, we have two short calls. The 113 strike price has the majority of the contracts. We're underneath that 38 cents. And then we have a short call here with the 115 strike price with about 65 contracts. We also have a bought call at the 118 strike price with about 1,300 contracts. We're underneath that 5%. And then we have Squee. Okay, so closing out the $70 strike price for the short call. They only had to pay 11 cents for that, but they only received 1 cent for the 73 strike price bought call. So then for next week, we went from a $70 to a $69 strike price for our short call, and went from a 73 bought call to a 72 strike price. So if we head on over to our holdings, we can see here for next week, short call, $69 strike. We're underneath that 5% or $3.71. And then we have our bought call with a 72 strike. We're underneath that 9%. It's interesting. So it's Wednesday, and a lot of these have already been pushed out till next week. So hopefully that means I won't have so many trades to go over for the next couple of days. Because right now I'm doing these 3 days together. But anyway, sorry, that's what I was just thinking. Tesla, looks like we've had some people close out of that this week as Tesla has been soaring. So as you can see, they've closed out of 900 contracts. So if we look at our holdings here, we have our short calls. We have a 250 strike price and a 255 strike price, but we're over those 3 and 1%. We closed today at 257.02. And the majority of our contracts, 29,000 plus, is at that 250 strike price. We do have a bought call with a 260 strike price, and we're underneath that 1% or $3 right now. All right, let's see what our next trades are. So we don't have any more trades till Zomo. Sorry, it threw me off. Okay, so TSMY here, we have a short call for this week. We had a 175 strike price. We are over that by 4%. We're at 182.35. So over that strike price, $7.35 with no bought call. That is very unfortunate for that stock and the people that hold it. All right, Zomo. 3 contracts, or no, sorry, the first 3 lines there. We have it's out of order. That bugs me. All right, there we go. So we have a short call. It's going to expire this week, 118 strike price. They closed that out for 5 cents a share, and now we have moved those to next week. We went from a 118 to a 116 strike price. And then they also did a bought call with this one, a 118 strike price, so a $2 spread there. So if we look here on the holdings, so it looks like they left the bought call for this week. It's not really worth much at this point. So I guess they're going to see how it does this week. Man, we went yesterday from a 117 down today of 114.77. I didn't realize oil went down that much today. Or maybe it's just because of things going on. But that's weird too, because it shows today's Zomo was 1647, but the NAV was 1672. Like, what did I miss there? We usually don't have that big a gap. It's interesting. Okay, anyway, moving on. We have a short call for next week with the 116 straight price. We're only underneath that 1%. So that's what, 23 is $1.23. So then we have a bought call here with the 118 for next week. We're underneath that 3%. All right, so now let's look at our short ETFs. So crash here. We have 6 lines. So the first 2 lines are the short puts. They're going to expire this week, 220 and 232.50. And so they moved those to next week, and we have a 235 and a 247.50. That's interesting, that 247.50. I guess they don't plan for this to come down. And they split those shares between the two. All right. And then they have, I feel like, okay, this is out of order. All right, and then they closed out the long call, 305 strike price. Look at that. They got $4.40 a share for that. I haven't really paid that much attention to the long calls before because none of them, I don't think, have ever actually been that close to one. But anyway, sorry. So we went from a 305 strike price to a 385 strike price. It's actually got quite a bit of money there. So that's here. And then, of course, you're going to go out and act crazy. So they brought in $426,000 off of those trades. So if we go down here, we can see our short puts for next week. We have a 235 and a 247.50. We're above those currently. Hold on. Okay, I see. I labeled it wrong. That was my rush, and that was my bad. Yeah, so we had a bought put. Why did I think I had done that? Yeah, and this is the ones that I said because I would have to remember. I remember saying this last week. I'd seen it for the first time. I'd have to really look at these because I'm not going to know unless I'm looking at these strike prices. I'm not really going to know what is what here. Okay, so I have these coded wrong. And so these were done today. Okay, so I need to change these. I gotta think about what I'm doing now. Let me double check how I had these on the holdings. Assuming that was the one I had. Yeah, I had these wrong here. And maybe it's just because I did these fast on Monday because I didn't do a video. This one, though, I could have sworn it was one from Friday. I did it. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't thinking going into this week. And that means these are going to be wrong, these color codes. And it'll look now because I might have, okay, so that's just 4. So that was fine. Sorry about this. That had totally slipped my mind. Like I said, that's not going to come up as an error for me to know that it's different. So I've really got to be looking. Right? Yeah, if that was a bought put, they would have sold it to close it, which means they would have got money, so that's right. Alright, so that's the official. I know it's not right on that sheet, but that's the unofficial. So it was the lower number. Of course, this isn't going to change, at least not on here. Okay, was that the only one? I guess so. But I should look again because I'm tired. Alright, so if I go, you'll actually see it coded right, color coded now, right? Because this one's a live version, so now that will show the correct 9%, negative 9% there. And I need to change this down here because we can still put that there. It's just the way my crazy codes. It's not that big a deal though. Alright, anyway, so my bad. I forgot that appears that they can do these bought puts in the short ETFs too, which makes total sense that they should be able to do it. I just got to remember to really look at these. So we have a short put 247.50 for next week, and then we have the bought put at 235. I was going to say moving on to dips, but we do have trades. So we have trades here. Now these are from Monday, these 4. So you can see the quantity in column M is 40 contracts, so they added 40 contracts, people buying in. Now, I thought I saw some up here where I forgot to move some. Oh, that's fiat. Okay, so that's the one I forgot. Okay, I think that's next, right? So let's move on here to dips. So it looks like we have 3 short puts that expired this week. We have a 110, 111, and 113 strike price, and we're above those 9, 11, and 12%. And then we have fiat, so we had those trades, so right there. So they closed out a short put that was expiring this week with a 152.50 strike price, and they moved that up to a 160 strike price. It only cost them 17 cents to close those other ones out because coin did get up to 167.08. So they went ahead and closed those out. And so if we look here at the holdings, you can see that short put for next week with the 160. We're above that 4%, but then we also still have the short put for this week, the 162.50, and we're above that one 3%. Then YQQQ, we can see here. So they've added 16 contracts to everything there where people are buying in for YQQQ. So you can see short put here for this week for 74, strike price above that 2%, and then we have here for next week a short put for 76, strike price above that 2%. And then YBIT. YBIT here looks like we've had a bunch of people sell out of this one, selling 1,300 contracts. So here we have short call for this week with the 1950 strike price. We're underneath that 2% or 37 cents. And then we also have a bought call with a $20.50 strike price, which are under 7%. And then just to let you know that they did sell out of the Moderna options that they had in YieldMax this week, and they do now hold Murney again. For those that you had been wondering and watching this and everything else, just to know that that is back in there. So anyway, sorry this video was longer than I had planned, but it was 3 days worth of trades. Not sure if you'll hear from me the rest of the week, just with the way the work schedule is through this week and next week. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.